65 to 80% of operating costs of a business are consumed in salaries and wages, which means what? The greatest expense of your business is your people. And 46% of new hires are no longer with the company in 18 months. The failure rate of recruiting great people is enormous. Here's the deal. The challenge is greater now than it has ever been. And this is probably surprising to most people. Why? Why would it be surprising that hiring great people would be tougher today than at any time, I think, in business history? Here's why. Because we've never had more people on the planet than any time in history. And unemployment is still relatively high, which means what? Yeah, the supply of potential job applicants is bountiful, probably bigger than ever in the history of our species. But yet, finding A-player talent is ridiculously difficult, and it's getting more and more difficult as we move forward into the 21st century. So then, why is that? There are two reasons in particular, and these reasons are important for you to understand, which is why we're here, okay? If you desire to recruit and hire A-players for your mission, cause, enterprise, for your team, you're gonna need to understand these two reasons. So get ready to write these down. You ready? Here's number one. We are going through a great workforce restructuring. Our business and consumer technologies have raced ahead of us, and it's raced beyond our personal and organizational skills. Those are what is lagging behind. If you just look at the client side of your business, many technological advancements have come at the expense of human connections. We've forced automations, self-checkouts, we have bots for customer service, etc. And so organizations now need to reinvent their business model to marry these great technological innovations with human experiences to create emotional connections with clients in the best way possible. The one thing technology can't replace is being human. And as long as we are meat sacks as human beings, we need human beings to connect with emotionally. Only humans can connect emotionally with humans. So the dynamic that we have in the modern workforce is this. We have a high demand for human emotional intelligence due to technology replacing most human touch points, making human touch points more valuable than ever, but a low supply of human emotional intelligence. And this is because our economic system up to this point used to be based on just throwing bodies at a problem, requiring a lot of low EQ skill work. But today, most of all that low EQ work has been replaced by technology. So that leaves us with lots of people roaming around in the workforce, but most of them are ill-equipped with the skills we really need today. In other words, we got lots of people out there, but very little EQ out there. And the talent for skilled people with high emotional intelligence is in crazy short supply, which is causing a massive supply problem. And that is why McKinsey & Company calls this the greatest world war of the 21st century, the war for talent. Now note, this is not the war for workers. This is the war for talent, for A-player talent. They write, the most important asset will not be technology or global positioning or operational agility. McKinsey & Company says it is human capital. Finding and retaining talented people will be the most valued company resource over the next 20 years. It'll also be the resource, they say, in the shortest supply. The publication, The Economist, says finding the right people is the single biggest problem in business today. The number one concern for business owners, for CEOs, leaders of any group of people of any kind is attracting and retaining talent, regardless of the company size or industry. And that includes me, and that includes you. The second reason now that it is tougher to recruit A-player talent and why the competition is fierce is that talent now has a lot of choices. They are no longer limited to the jobs within the proximity of their home and family. The world now is their oyster, and they can now dictate their terms. It will be those offering the most flexible work conditions that are going to pick off the talent. Understand this. A company, what is a company? What constitutes a company? A company consists of one thing, people. Businesses are not P&L statements. They're not balance sheets. They're not systems and processes and tactics and strategies and tasks and deliverables and KPIs. Businesses are people, people serving people. And if you get the people part right, the people will take care of the rest. As Richard Branson explained to me, to make this point, he said, Virgin buys the same Boeing planes as British Airways, as American Airlines, as United, as the rest of them. It's not the planes that make up the company. It's not even the service we provide of transporting somebody from point A to point B. It is not the product. It is the people we put in the planes that make a company either mediocre or excellent. And in my time with the 20th century titan of corporate business, Jack Welch, he told me this. He said, the team that fields the best players wins. Period. It's as simple as that. He said, the game is won or lost before kickoff, before the first pitch is thrown, before the jump ball. The businesses that become the best are the ones who have best recruited, retained, and led the best people. So for your notes, write this one down. Marketplace war happens at the hiring table, not at the conference table, not in advertising, not in the engineering department, and not at shareholders meetings. Let me try to put it to you as simply as possible, okay? Winning in the marketplace, accomplishing your big goals, achieving your mission, making your big impact, fortifying your legacy, and how your life will be remembered comes down to one 4-letter word. You ready? It's spelled H-I-R-E, hire. If that doesn't grab you by the throat, let me grab you by the wallet. 65 to 80% of operating costs of a business are consumed in salaries and wages, which means what? The greatest expense of your business is your people. And 46% of new hires are no longer with the company in 18 months. The failure rate of recruiting great people is enormous. Because this is such a consequential part of your business, because it consumes so much in expenses and is impacting the bottom line sharply, you only have to improve your success rate in recruiting by 25%, to at minimum 2x your productive output and growth trajectory. It is one of the biggest hinges that swings the big doors of results in exponentially growing your business. You get this recruiting thing right with the same payroll, not more money, with the same number of people, actually probably less, with less headaches and stress. You can 2 to 3 times your business size and production. Let me just walk you through the 3 biggest mistakes that are made in going after and trying to recruit great people. Here's number 1. You hire as a solution to a problem. All of a sudden you see you need somebody in account services, you need somebody in account payables or in accounts receivables, right? You have a problem and you need a job role fulfilled quickly. So you quickly hire somebody and you're usually grabbing the first thing that you see to try to put out this fire. And you think that it is a bucket of water and you throw it on the fire only to realize it was a bucket of gasoline and it all goes. Another mistake is hiring people that you like versus hiring the people that you need. Those two are very different. I've made that mistake many, many times in my earlier parts of my career. The last caution that I will give you here is that there is an excellent chance that you suck at hiring. An excellent chance that you suck at this. Why? Number 1, who are the easiest people to sell? Salespeople, right? And most likely you've been successful in your career or even in your business thus far because you are a good salesperson of some sort. So you are an easy target for the professional interviewers. Number 2, you're an entrepreneur. And what do entrepreneurs see? Entrepreneurs see hope and possibility in everything and anything. We are actually inspired by the idea that we can fix someone. And that's what makes you a great entrepreneur, but it makes you a horrible hiring manager. And this is your most important priority as an entrepreneur. And number 3 is we hate the process. Hiring is freaking boring. It's laborious. It's tedious. And it seems that there's always many, many more important things to be doing than sitting across the interview table, going through a fit interview, right? And so what do? You abdicate it. And there goes 65 to 80% of all your expenses and the greatest contributing factor to the future of your enterprise, your legacy, and the life and lifestyle that you can provide for your family because you abdicated. So let me give you some light at the end of the tunnel, not just to try to scare you straight, okay? Let me try to give you some hopeful and positive reasons to encourage you to make the investment of time, energy, and priority in getting this hiring thing right. One great person can replace at least 3 good people. And sometimes one great person can actually build you an empire. Let me give you an example. So Starbucks had been in China for 9 years and they were failing miserably. They were losing billions of dollars. And so the board called for the head of Howard Schultz. He was on the block to be beheaded as the CEO of the company, because up to that point, they had been using Seattle executives to go and try to run China. Howard decides that he's going to take it upon himself, and he went headhunting. And Howard made one key hire, and her name was Belinda Wong. Now China is responsible for 30% of all of Starbucks growth. They now have 4,100 stores in China. It's the second largest market after the United States. And in 2019 alone, China contributed $6.19 billion in revenue to Starbucks. So you say, can one person do that much? Yes, of course. They don't do it alone. But yes, one person can lead and make that happen. So let's talk about the current dilemma. Okay, I want you to put in chat. I'm going to read you 3 circumstances, and you tell me at the end of them whether these statements are true or they are false. Okay, so A, employees today are not as productive as they were 20 years ago. B, left to their own devices, employees will get actively disengaged. And C, there are no real A players out there who are available. So put in chat whether you agree or disagree with that statement. Okay. Oh, we got some smart folks here. I got some truths. I got lots of falses. Okay, true, false, true. Okay, let me give you the answer. It's false. The only thing that's going on there is that you have the wrong process to hire, to vet, to onboard, to indoctrinate, to lead, to drive into high performance. It's just the wrong process. And in the business masterclass, let me just give you a few of what it is that we cover to help you solve for these equations. Where you find where top talent is, there's 5 key buckets for you to look for when you're looking for your great talent. How to design compelling job postings and irresistible offers so that you can entice those A players into your organizations, no matter your stage. You don't have to be a big company to entice somebody with extreme talent into your organization, regardless of your revenue and stage. How to know who is a right fit for your particular mission, your culture, and your particular leadership. That's an essential one. What you're really looking for, I boil it down to 3 things: hearts, guts, and smarts. How do you know if somebody really has it or not? How do you identify who's a decoy from who is legit? Okay. How to sell these A players on your vision, on your mission, on your company, on your role, on your job offer. There's 5 things that A players are looking for. If you know what those are, you will have a much better job recruiting the kind of people that you're looking for. How to market your open positions, how to get a flood of job applicants, and then how to build an 8-part filtering system to vet, identify the decoys and the professional interviews from the true A players. A 6-point framework on onboarding A players. How they start with you will determine their career with you. That first impression, first experience, first indoctrination is everything. And the main reason newly hired executives have such abysmal failure rate is because of poor acculturation. They don't adapt well to the new company's way of doing things. Another thing you'd learn is creating passionate engagement and high performance from A players. You've met my A team, okay? There is a process to do that. This doesn't happen organically. This is not a natural occurrence when you bring people together. No, there is a process of leading that kind of passionate engagement, and how to drive accountability and personal ownership for results. And then there's 6 questions to evaluate your existing team. When to know for sure that it's time to let somebody go, and how to do it right with not only the right legal process, but the right heart and consideration. So let me document what's possible when you get this hiring thing right. Okay, there's a few alumni that really took the advice that I gave them in this hiring process. And I just want to account for you what the results are like, because I want you to see what's possible for you. And it doesn't matter where you are now, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter whether you are B2C or B2B, okay? It doesn't matter whether you're in wholesale or you're in retail, whether you are in engineering or manufacturing or you're in consumer goods, okay? So let me read just a couple of these here. One of my favorite people on the planet is a guy by the name of Sid Pagatipati, and he's been to our business masterclass 4 times. And after the first one, he finally got the chutzpah to hire top A players. And this is what he said: revenue increased by 3 times in 2 years, from 60 million in revenue to 180 million. More importantly, my stress level is 50% of what it was, because I share that with our new president, not to mention that the company could now run without me if needed. Now, when Sid first came to our business masterclass, he had no business. So don't let the $60 million business try to intimidate you. All right. It doesn't, he started with no business, pulled the ideas, went and created this phenomenal business, and then multiplied it when he applied the hiring practices that we've talked about. Another guy I love is Kevin Ortner. He is the CEO of Renters Warehouse. And he said, quote, "You challenged me to hire true A players. I finally did it the first year after following your hiring formula. It has brought us 6.9 million in extra revenue. That is an 11 times ROI. Even with this one person he recruited, his stock fully invested, it's still 6 times. His entire compensation package is still far less than our normal acquisition cost. This is brilliant." And lastly, Troy Berg, he is the CEO of Dane Manufacturing. He said, quote, "I followed your hiring formula and hired Mike, my first A player in a string of many hires. Before then, my company was stalled and it had hit the wall. It was not going to grow, get better, or do anything with excellence because it all depended on me." Does that sound familiar? I needed more A players to help me take it to where I wanted to go. Secondly, that is my job as CEO, to recruit, retain these A players. Since we have 3x'd 3 times. So we went from 1 million in revenue to 30 million in revenue, all due to these hiring practices. And the last thing that I would say is there's more to just revenue. This is from Danielle Smink, the CEO of Canyonlands Insurance. She said, "I hired 4 newly highly respected individuals to our team. I would not have had the confidence to do so before your hiring process. It is incredible how much easier it is to work with them versus the people that she had before." Okay, so not only does it give you a more fantastic business, greater impact and lifestyle, but it makes life a lot less stressful and a lot more enjoyable. 2 things to wrap this up before I take your open questions. Again, you don't need a large, successful organization to attract great people. You just need a compelling vision, and you just need to know what they are looking for that entices them to want to come in and champion your cause. I will show you how to package that so that you can recruit anybody that you want and then get them to do anything that you want. Let me say that again. Would it be worth the price of admission? What would you pay if I could show you how to recruit anybody you wanted, any type of person that you wanted, and then when you had them in your organization, how to get them to do anything you wanted? What would you pay for that? Okay, because that is exactly the formula that I will give you. Okay, as I just read you the results of that. And the last thing that I would remind you of, the bigger your dream, the more important your team. Okay, if you got small, mediocre dreams, you can have a small, mediocre team. But if you got big dreams, ambitions, you want to do something significant, you want to do what you were designed to do, you want to live the life you were meant to live, which means that you're going to be challenged to step up, then you need to step up to go and get really great people. And I can show you how to do it, make it easy, make it simple. Okay, I've had to refine and tweak and iterate this process over my entire career. My success is a result of being able to go and find, retain, and then amplify really great people around me. Nothing happens in a vacuum. No one person does anything except for learn how to find, recruit, retain, lead, and engage a great team of people. Okay. Let me go to your questions, and then we will go until your questions run out. Shannon Perry sent this one in advance, and she said, "Rather than posting a job and receiving hundreds of resumes, how can we recruit like-minded talent?" Okay. The best place to recruit like-minded talent is through the minds of people who are like you, right? And so referrals is always the top resource for recruiting, but it's how do you activate those people to advocate on your behalf to drive people to your recruiting funnel. Okay, so this is through your personal and your professional networks, through your existing employees is the best way. These are the people who have already deemed themselves A players. And so over time, they've proven themselves. And birds of a feather flock together. A players have A player friends and associate with A player networks. And so your best resources through your existing employees. I know that our best team members have come through the personal referral of our best team members. I can tell you that for sure. Other places is your own vendors and suppliers. They're already in the industry. They know who's a badass. They know who's a standout. They know who's doing the most business and so forth. They're a fantastic resource, but you got to know how to activate them, right? Everybody knows somebody who's an A player when you describe it well. Who is it that impresses you? Wherever you are, who's the standout? Who's the person you just go, wow, that person just personifies excellence. Somebody knows somebody. Even if they themselves aren't of that quality, they certainly will know how to identify one when one stands out. And all you need to learn is how to activate them. But you still want to go out into the job market aggressively. You don't want to play what we call Texas Hold'em, where there's only 52 cards in a deck and you can only play the cards that are dealt you. You need to expand the funnel aggressively so that you can pick from the big bunch of excellent choices, right? If you're just limited choices, you're going to get limited results. So I will show you how to do that and do that sanely, because you'll get I'm trying not to say you'll get a shiitake ton of job applications, and that's a nightmare. And so you want to create a filter that is automated that only allows the best of the bunch. The cream rises to the top without getting stuck in the mucky middle. Okay. So that'd be the answer to your question. Another question that was pre-written in is how to hire and then lead freelancers occupying a vital role when they're only doing 5 to 10 hours per week on commitment. Okay. So if those are recurring 5 to 10 hours a week, that's over 500 hours a year. That's a major contribution to your organization. So I would say it's the same recruiting and filtering process, the same 8-step process. We have our member experience team, our unicorn squad, those magical, mythical, amazing human beings. Those are contractors. They're led by an employee-based A team member, but the rest of them are contractors. Most of them are just what we call part of our mom force. They got 2, 3 kids, and they're on chat for a few hours a day. But we go through a rigorous process of finding those people, even though they're only going to be part-time and even though they're only going to be contractors. Those are the people that are on our front lines. Those are the people that are having interface with all of you. They are our biggest brand representative. You bet we're going to vet those aggressively. Anybody that's contributing to your sacred mission needs to be vetted. Now, if you're just getting a logo designed by some contractor on the outside and it's a one and done deal, whatever, you can hire a vendor for that. That's not a contributor. But anybody's going to be contributing over an extended period of time, you want to put through a vigorous filtering process. Okay. And then the last one I think that came in was from Jamie Cross. And the question was, what is a good test or follow-up activity to have a candidate complete before the second interview? And yes, I'm a big believer in before you buy the car, take it out for a test drive, right? You wouldn't buy a car without at least driving it first, sitting in the seat, seeing how it feels, whether the seat belt rubs you the wrong way, whether the pedals are in the right spot, whether you can see out all the windows and the mirrors and all the rest of that. So yeah, you want to test drive somebody before you put them into the sanctity of your important team. So what we do is, and you can get faked out because a lot of people will show you their past portfolio and a lot of times it's BS because whatever it is that they're showing you was done by the department or the company, but not really by them individually. And so what you want to do is you want to hire them to do a quick contract work. When I mean hire, I mean pay them. And don't pay them what you would pay them on a salary, pay them an hourly rate, which means you're going to pay them a good hourly rate to perform a contract test project. And a project that is something your organization actually needs or is a project that they will be doing if you hired them. Okay, so that you can see exactly how they do what it is that you're going to be having them do for you as an organization and pay them handsomely. We have often done that. We thought we had a great person because everything else, all the other boxes checked out. We had to do a contract test and it was obvious really quick that they just really didn't have the chops and it just required too much back and forth, took too long. And so it saved us, we paid them and that saved us a lot of money and a lot of time. Okay. So, all right, let's go to see if you have any of your questions here. Okay. Aaron Wergland, we are looking to expand our leadership team. Should we have 1 2-hour panel interview for each candidate that applies or shorter 90-minute interview with second interview? Okay. We have an entire 8-step process. It'll take too much time for me to explain it to you. But by the time somebody gets to the main interview, they have gone through a lot of hoops so that it's likely you're not going to be wasting that time. We've tried to scare away the week many times before that. But yeah, getting a panel of people and occupying their productive attention for a 90-minute session or a 2-hour session is very expensive. Just think of the payroll that you're spending to have that meeting. So before they get to occupy that life force, they're going to pass several tests before they get to that interview. This is why this process is so essential so that you can take this volume of applicants that you get and filter it out before any of your vital team members are wasting time, energy, and attention on those that can easily be weeded out with a filtering process. That's what I would say to that. What are the more important character attributes that we can look at to find the A team? Okay, this is a great question, but it is a question that depends on your business, right? On your industry, on your business, on your stage of growth, on you as a leader. You have to design what we call 12 core attributes of your A team player. And that is, again, going to be unique to you and to your mission and to your culture, the one that you want to foster. And that's how you shape culture. A lot of people, there's all these books about how to shape culture. You don't shape culture. You don't shape culture. Okay. You can't force a culture on to people. Culture is just the personality expression of the people in your culture. In other words, it's the people that dictates the culture. So again, it starts with recruiting. You recruit the right people who have the attributes you're looking for, and their attributes becomes the cultural expression of your organization. That's why it all comes down to selection, right? 95% of success in hiring is selection. And that's why you got to have the right process so that you can prepare, solicit the right people, vet the decoys out, have a process where they earn their way in, that proper onboarding and indoctrination process, and then the performance dashboards to lead and drive their accountability. What is the most successful method to retain great people? Okay, yeah, there's a whole process about that in the accountability section that I go through in day 3 of the Business Masterclass. Am I going to continue to talk about the Business Masterclass? You're damn right. That's why it's 3 days. Why is it 3 days? Because it's 25 years of the best that I've accumulated from the best in the world. You remember, I've had access to the greatest titans and corporate leaders and organizational, nonprofit, and mission-oriented leaders of the world, right? And so this is a repository, a distillation compressed into 3 days. And the third day is all on hiring. So yes, how, after you get past recruiting and you get past onboarding, how do you drive accountability? And part of that accountability is how do you keep them? And there are 2 essential questions we ask every member of our team, regardless of how loyal or how long they've been with us. We call it 2 questions that determine whether you're going to stay or not. And those 2 questions are vital. Is that a cliffhanger? Do you want to know what the answer is? Get to the Business Masterclass. It's worth those 2 questions are worth the price of admission. Am I giving you a tease? Oh, yes, I am. Why? Because I believe it is worth it for you. If I didn't believe so, I wouldn't push so hard. It's like somebody asked me a question once about selling. It's like, what's the best thing you can do in sales? Find something you believe wholeheartedly in and just talk authentically about it. That's it. You don't need any gambits. You don't need any closing techniques or tricks. If you believe wholeheartedly in something and you just speak authentically about it, you will move people. Yes, that's what they want. They want to be moved by, somebody who knows what they're talking about, tell them what to do based on their personal experience with it, right? Proven, documented, proven experience, and then they believe wholeheartedly in it. Yes, I believe it. All right. Sorry if you covered this. I joined late. Do you ever use external recruiters or always networking? Okay, that's a great question. Do we use external recruiters? I think if you're hiring for a C-level position, you might look at hiring external recruiters, but you're going to have to train them how you want the recruiting process to go. The executive recruiter has one job, and that is to check the box, get the position filled, and move on. It's a transaction to them. You are looking for the DNA, the heart and soul of somebody who's going to be a major contributor to your entire legacy, to the financial future of all the people in your organization. And so the abdication that people do when they hire external recruiters is horrible. I'm not saying, I think they can help you expand the marketing, expand the funnel of people, but you cannot just abdicate to them. You have to dictate the process that you want them to use, the filter steps that you want people to go through. Again, that I will teach you. I have had professional owners of HR and recruiting companies come through our Business Masterclass and said, that process is way more vigorous and effective than anything we would ever have done for a client. And he says, you're absolutely right. That is exactly what, I see the brilliance in what it is that you're doing, but they really can't do that. They can't do that themselves at scale. They're just trying to check the box. So I say yes, but I give you the warning. Let them expand your funnel, but don't be reliant upon it. I would also do everything that I would teach you to do to market your position widely. And there's an excellent chance that you're going to find somebody better than they will. And if not, you'll at least take people they would have said, yes, this person is great, and you will have filtered them out through the right process. And that will push them to go further and deeper. And then they might bring you the person that ends up becoming the unicorn that you've been looking for. So yes, and is the answer to that. Oh, let me go way back down to the bottom here. Sorry, you guys have been active. That's awesome. Thank you. Suggestions for changing culture to embrace remote work. We have a player candidate that only wants to work remote. Yeah, and that is from Delilah. You betcha, Delilah. This is, as I explained up front. It's funny. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, said, I'm done with Zoom. I've canceled all my Zoom meetings. And he might feel that way, but I guarantee you his people are not all that thrilled to have to go put on their stockings and get into commute and drive down and sit in some cubicle somewhere just so some gray-haired person can look over their shoulder every once in a while and feel like they're working, right, by managing you. So this new workforce, the number one attribute, the one thing that is most important that they're looking for is flexibility. And so if you can provide that, you will have an advantage. You can pluck off some extremely incredible talent if you're willing to provide that flexible work environment. And I'm telling you, it's freaking awesome. Our entire A team is virtual. Our entire team has been virtual my entire career. Ever since real estate, ever since I was 24 years old, I'm 50. So for 26 years, I have been working virtual. Even when I was running Success Magazine, it was in Dallas. I lived in San Diego. I would commute in once a month or so. And the least productive time in my life was the time that I was in that office. So virtual work environment is going to be a distinctive advantage. We just happen to have been doing it for 26 years. Okay. And you see my team and our culture and what we do. All right. If we've hired people that are good, not great, should we fire them and start over or invest to try to develop them into A players? I will give you that 6-question process to evaluate your existing team. There's an excellent chance the reason why they're not performing at great has nothing to do with their capabilities. It has to do with their leadership, right? People will match the pace of their leader. They will match the expectations of their leader. They will match the belief that the leader gives of them to live up to. So the first place you have to look is in the mirror. And I'll give you the assessment questions to self-assess to determine whether they're not digging all they have out of themselves is a factor of leadership and not a factor of their capacity. But there's an evaluation to do to assess that fully. And then there is what we call a PIP, a performance improvement plan that you can put them on that allows them to make it their choice to rise to meet the level of the new standard or not. And then it's clear between the two of you that if not, what happens next? So it's not a surprise. You see, so you got to lay that out. If you just go in and fire somebody and it's a surprise to them, that's a failure of leadership. That means they haven't been getting the feedback. They haven't been given the accountability. They haven't been having those conversations have not been had all along the way. That's a failure of leadership. So again, I will give you all that framework so that you can assess it properly and then give them the rehabilitation plan properly and then give them the exit if that is what is both made clear and how to do that correctly. And then, of course, how to decide who you really need in that spot. Because a lot of people have a lot of people in positions that they don't need those people in those positions. They have the wrong people in the wrong positions. They have the right people in the right positions doing the wrong things. And once you get all that aligned, man, it's just like releasing the life force of a group of human beings. What can be achieved is phenomenal, even with the same human beings. Once you get them in alignment, you get the right people in the right seats doing the right things the right way, that alignment can become just phenomenal. So it's not just about firing and replacing them with a bunch of strangers. It's about getting and creating alignment. If you don't have a great talented team, how do you prevent top talent that was brought in by a compelling vision get doled down when they see the leaderboards and results of the rest of the team not performing? If you're finding out that you have some rising stars and you have some people that are shrinking into the shadows, that's called evidence and a clue. And so you might be in like a volunteer type business. I don't know whether this is Team Santos' direct sales or it's real estate where you can't really fire or whatever. But if they're employees, I would say, okay, people in the shadows, we need to have a come to Jesus conversation. And here's the performance expectation of this organization. And here's where you are. So here's a gap. So let's determine a time frame. Is it 2 weeks? Is it 2 months? Is it 90 days? And what we need to see is that you get from here to match the pace of the rest of the organization. Because this is a high performance organization. We are committed to high performance. Everybody that carries the Team Santos name is going to be indicative of high performance. And this might not be the right place for you. Okay. This is an awesome place. This is what we say to potential candidates. This is not an easy place to work, but it is an awesome place to work if you are a person who is committed to impact, committed to growth, committed to excellence, because those are our 3 core values. And holding to that standard is not easy, but it is awesome for those that want to level up and play at that level in life. This is an awesome place to work. It's not easy, but it's an awesome place to work. So you put them on a performance improvement plan and they either rise to meet the rest of the team or it has become self-evident amongst both of you. There's no surprises, right? They're not going around with a guillotine. You've said, I'm giving you the opportunity to meet the performance standard of the team. And I hope that you do. I will help you and support you all along the way. I really want you to do so. But ultimately, you got to meet this standard if you want to carry the Team Santos name. All right, y'all. Hey, this has been fun. We'll do it again. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on the flip side.